Welcome to the Wiser Talk, produced by Wiser Ghosh Software Solutions, the premier low-code company of India. Our host today is Avinanda Ghosh, a veteran of the financial services sector in India with over 30 years of experience. He culminated his service career as the CFO, CIO, and CISO of a public sector general insurance company. Mr. Ghosh is a low-code evangelist and is presently an advisor to Wiser Ghosh.
Hello and welcome. Our guest today is Mr. Joydeep Roy. Mr. Joydeep Roy is a veteran of the insurance domain, having put in nearly 35 years, spanning almost all the segments of the general insurance landscape. He started his career in the public sector with National Insurance Company Limited, and then later switched to the private sector to join IFCO Tokyo General Insurance. He went on to become the head of their corporate marketing group and then took over as the CEO of its subsidiary, the IFCO Tokyo Insurance Services Limited. In 2014, Mr. Roy left the shores of India to join Phoenix of Botswana Assurance Company Pty Limited in Gaborone as their CEO. He led the company to 100% growth. Now that's saying something. He later joined the Reliance Insurance Company Tanzania Limited as its Chief Operating Officer, working out of Dar es Salaam. In 2018, Mr. Roy returned to India and joined Safe Risk Insurance Brokers to lead their expansion efforts. He's been with them ever since. Mr. Joydeep Roy is an associate member of the Insurance Institute of India. He lives in Calcutta. So we are back after the break, and we were talking, Joydeep, about the necessity and the absolute necessity, the imperative of technology coming in a big way to aid and abet and also bring more efficiency into the insurance services. So this is almost like you need a technology to do insurance, and insurance will be the payoff for the technology adoption. So I now, to continue this flow of conversation, I'd like to just dwell a little upon the challenges of technology adoption. And having worked in this field myself, I'm aware of the various technical challenges, etc. But here, since you have been a business leader, a business side leader, so I'd like to ask you about the challenges perceived by the business end of the management, or the top management, if I may, right? Like, what do you think as a business leader, from your perspective, are the major challenges for even agreeing to welcome technology into your organization?
Okay, Avinanda, I get your point. As we said in the last part when we were talking together, is technology is kind of an imperative.
Yeah.
You don't escape it, and the sooner you embrace it, the better you're going to penetrate into the market.
Well said, well said.
So the more when you implement technology, you know that it comes in various forms. There's a front end of it, and there's a
Yes.
back end of it.
Correct.
There are bridges. Now, each of these are quite expensive propositions. So a
Yes.
lot of management thought goes into buying the technology.
Yes.
It's just not like buying a photocopier or a laptop.
Mm. Sure.
So the second point that happens is that when you buy the technology and you try to implement it, you
Mm.
find that what you thought you will get and what
Mm.
you are getting are a little different. So,
May I interrupt here to say that it's somewhat like insurance, is it?
well, again, the question comes is yeah, there are certain
A
supervisions
gap of
involved,
expectation.
a gap of expectations that
So
what
so is
your
it.
customer.
So is it with marriage, may I say?
Yes, so now, mm, yeah, it is always said that when you want a person who knows Bengali like Rabindranath,
Mm.
Hindi like Sant Tulsidas, and English like Shakespeare, most often you get a person who knows Hindi like Rabindranath,
Mm.
Bengali like Shakespeare,
Yeah.
and English like Sant Tulsidas.
Yes.
So that's there. But yeah, more on a serious note, another is uh, the time of implementing the technology. This, I believe, is the most important thing because technology is running at its own pace, implementation is happening. The longer the implementation time, the, the time that you have after you've implemented the technology and the technology has become obsolete is
Yes.
very small. So you don't have much time to recover that cost. By the time you have
Ah.
recovered 50 or 60% of the cost,
Yes.
you
Yes.
the industry or the environment is pushing you to the next level. So you go on spending. Now, what happens if you go on spending? You built in this cost in your pricing.
Mm.
It gets built into the pricing.
Yes.
So you operationally you're fine.
Mhm.
But when you talk of penetration, when you talk of bringing the cost down, bringing the prices down,
Mm.
here it sort of hits you because you will have to spend technology before you realize the full gain out of it. Imagine a thing that
Correct.
your technology gets recovered in 2 years and
Mm.
the technology gets obsolete in maybe 10 years.
Mm. Mm.
So by the time the 2 years are over, your technology is now free. You have
Yes.
recovered
Yes.
the money.
Well said.
And,
Yeah.
and the benefit you can transfer into pricing. This is the main challenge, I believe, is
Mm.
for adoption of technology. The pace of technology obsolescence and the pace of implementation of technology are not matched in favor of the business.
Well, very, very well put. Now, if I try to break down your proposition, I see, let's put it into a few buckets. Number one, sub challenge or a challenge in itself, maybe that technology costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Money and investment is always, I won't call it a problem really, but yes, upfront it is a problem. We have to face
Uh,
it. There's a budget constraint always.
right. But the point is that for a business, if you have to gain certain things, you have to invest certain amount. There is
Correct.
nothing
Yes.
called more or less.
Hmm.
You don't have
Yes.
the money today, finance it,
Hmm.
do it 6 months later, but doing it is imperative. You have
Yes.
to do it.
Which brings me to seek your opinion on what kind of payment model would you prefer to have for adoption of technology?
You
As a
know,
business person, you know that payment can be made in various ways, upfront, pay as you. What kind of given a choice, what kind of a payment model would you really prefer for technology?
see, the various payment models which I have come across, one of the most innovative types was the uh, key in, I mean, parameters, KPI
Yeah,
related model.
the
You
success
show
parameters.
success parameters. You
Mm,
show this, then it will happen.
mm,
Normally, uh, these possibilities are more theoretical because the cost difference between the success model and the outright purchase model is much less.
mhm.
Is much more. Sorry, much
Much
more,
more. Yeah, yeah,
much more.
yeah,
And obviously, business leaders would go in for the most economical one.
yeah. And also, if I may say that the outright purchase model, that is the
Yeah.
Capex model as we call
Uh,
it
uh,
technically, it would, of course, it would come with a bigger risk, as you said, risk of
right.
early technological obsolescence. And then you are left with a baby in your hand, you have paid for, but you can't utilize the value of it if it is
That's right.
obsolete.
That's right.
But I believe the other side of it, the plus side of it, probably would be that you own the asset
Yeah.
and all, let's say, the information within it, and you're the owner of the whole thing.
That's right.
So whether that would ring a bell with the business leader.
See, the various models that we came across uh, while thinking of purchasing insurances. First, is the you own it fully.
Mm, mm,
The second is some kind of a success-based model. It's
mm,
fully implemented, or certain things happen, you get
yeah.
paid.
Mm, mm,
The third model that I have also come across is where you you sort of almost you kind of hire a system. Somebody else runs it, and you
yeah.
pay on a monthly basis.
Technically, it is called SaaS, software as a service.
Okay,
So they have it there, and you just pay as you use, kind of thing. It's a
right,
hiring. Yeah, yeah.
right, right. Of all these three models, the when you talk about SaaS model
Mm,
that you said, software as a service,
mm.
the question of data security becomes very important
Yes.
because
To an
the
extent, yes. Yes.
insurers
Mm,
generate a data, customer data,
mm,
they add to it,
mm,
and this data today is a gold mine with
mm.
advanced analysis tools that are available with us.
Yeah.
This data can give you insight into the market
Yes.
which you could not have imagined 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yes.
So the insurance company is very sensitive, or the
Mm,
broker is very sensitive to
mm,
preservation of this data and to sort of having exclusive access to this data. So
mm,
any model which throws even a little aspersion or little sort of doubt on this
mm,
data security
mm,
becomes something which the insurance company or the brokers
mm,
would not like to have,
mm.
right?
So, if I
Yeah,
may, carry this thought, um, this point would be an argument.
yeah,
Very strangely, this would be an argument in favor of the pay upfront model, the capex model, the
right,
capital cost. Now,
right,
as you yourself said, capital payment upfront comes with the big risk of
right,
technology obsolescence early, so that we are left. You are left with the product that you have purchased,
Yeah.
and with no value hereafter,
Right.
because this technology has run its course and a new thing is coming. So
Absolutely.
with that risk and also a huge investment upfront, still you have the advantage of data security. So it's a balancing act, in my opinion. I wonder how you would look at it. See, I'm posing, or I'm giving you a googly, in fact. How would you
Uh-huh.
look at it personally as the CEO of a company that you have been?
The most of the time, what I looked at is that I wanted a mix of these strategies, acquisition strategies. Maybe the core system you own, where you have the basic data,
Hmm.
and the peripheral system, you can have alternative models of payment. That sort
Oh,
of
yes,
optimizes your
yes,
cost.
yes,
But
yes,
the
yes,
the
yes.
problem or the issue
Hmm.
of the core system is that these are something which mitigates the problem. It doesn't sort of clear out the problem,
Yeah.
right? The
Well, yes.
the main issue that comes is the implementation time.
Hmm.
The implementation time of these core systems or even the peripheral system,
Hmm.
if this can be compressed,
Hmm.
the time available for the purchaser to realize the benefit of the software is
Hmm.
more. That is where
Uh, hmm.
the 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 cookie crumbles.
Uh, if I may give you a poser again. Suppose with the advancement of technology, with new thoughts coming into the technological world, and it does come a million a day. So what would you say, for example, to purchasing a system, which, as you have said, is almost an imperative? You have to purchase willy-nilly. Maybe you have a few options of payment mode, etc., but you have to purchase. Now, what would you say to a system which, say, comes in a basket of modules, interconnected modules, let us say like a honeycomb, with the facility to take out a piece and replace it with the latest advanced piece without disturbing the rest of it? Does this sound good to you? This
This
kind of
is
a thing,
this is
a Lego model of system development.
this is really fantastic. I mean, but it is beautiful as a concept, but you have to see how well it works in reality.
Yes, yes, certainly.
Because these modules, they have a life of its own, and these interchangeability of the module, I suspect,
Hmm.
may be possible up to a limited amount of time. It cannot be forever. It cannot be that one of your module is dated 2021 and the newest module is dated 2000 maybe 30.
You're right. What I was trying to paint a picture of is uh, is it does then probably, do you think that it does then elongate the life, pushes back the obsolescence, at least to some extent?
Absolutely. I
Certainly,
totally
there's nothing called infinite in real life. But
I
if
totally
instead of
agree
two
with you.
years, see, there are two aspects. Instead of 2 years, if the serviceability of this entire system goes to, say, 5 years, then perhaps, as you pointed out so rightly, in fact, it was a very nice, proper, accurate statement to make, that to recover the cost through the pricing of your product in a very equitable manner, and in a manner which is not pinching the pocket of the insured,
Right.
right? So your obsolescence period, it is pushed back, And secondly, one part, if one part goes obsolete, then the whole system need not be thrown out of the door. It's a sort of it's like a car, let us say, where for one part being replaced, the whole car need not be abandoned. Somewhat like that, a bit of a
I get
flexibility
your
which you
point. I get your point. This is something which I'm sorry to say that in my days when I was in the decision making process,
get. Yes.
uh, I did not come across this.
Hmm.
So I don't have a practical experience, but
Yeah.
from the concept that you are saying,
Hmm.
taking you to be
Hmm.
exactly saying what it is.
Yeah.
There's no ifs and buts and kind of
Hmm.
um, underlying small prints.
Hmm.
This looks like something which can really be a concept which the insurance companies would sort of or brokers particularly would like
Hmm.
to have,
Hmm.
that they buy the technology in modules. They buy maybe
Hmm.
4 or 5 or
Hmm.
certain number of core module, and they add on to it and
Add on or modify the more existing
modify.
modules like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
One sort of objection which I can conceive of is
yeah.
sometimes, in my experience, I've seen that the basic technology of a service provider sometimes lacks certain modernity. So
Hmm.
purchasers at times move from one service provider to another,
Hmm.
right?
And
When you are
that
talking,
becomes a pain.
it becomes a pain, but
Yes.
it's a pain which is a conscious choice.
Yes. Yes.
Something which is not available, somebody else is making certain things available. This service provider do not have those intellectual
Hmm.
properties,
Hmm.
and this becomes an imperative.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
in this module thing, you will be tied down
Hmm.
almost inextricably with that service provider.
Uh, not fully necessarily, not absolutely necessarily, because there are various dimensions to it. Like if all the modules were part of one particular licensed or uh, one particular manufacturer, OEM, huh, then this could be. But nowadays, what happens, these are the days of mix and match and integration, interoperability. These are the days, and these are the buzzwords in the technology world. So, uh, if there is a service provider instead of an original system provider, if there's a service provider who can take from various places the best of the breed here and there, and then they can integrate, it may be possible to integrate depending on the need and the service required, in which case there is always a scope of,
That's
or
fantastic.
maybe I might temper my statement to say that there's a limited scope of interoperability and integration. There's nothing called absolute, as you know,
I
especially in the technology world, it's changing every day.
I hear you. I hear you.
Mm,
And this is a domain which I am not even a rookie in it. I'm
mm.
out of that domain, so I would
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
my
okay.
options,
So,
restrict
so
my
what I
answers to
was
that.
actually driving at is that as a business person, business head,
Yeah,
as the CEO or a COO, would this thought make your decision making easier? Would this give you comfort?
definitely, it will make my decisions easier. But as I said, that this is a conjecture because I do not um, seem I do not have the practical actual experience of doing it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But theoretically, when we talk about concepts, this definitely is a more comforting fact.
Hmm,
Only certain things will have to be kind of taken into account before these kind of models are sort of adopted or embraced.
Yes, yes. Before we move on, may I just put in a small rejoinder here?
Yeah.
Is that you're absolutely right when you say that when you were, in the hot seat
Mhm.
in various companies, um, you did not have actual experience of this kind of flexibility, this level of
Right.
flexibility. Yes, you're right. Because what has happened, time has moved on and the world has moved on. And now there are certain technologies which are allowing these things. These are very latest developments to be coming, to be gradually seeping into the technology world. And there is a concept called low code, or they even take it to the extreme, and very jargonistically they call it no code, but that's not really true. Low code, where uh, it is built on precisely this premise that you can, you can make it a Lego world kind of thing with a little bit of integration, and you can take in and pick out, and you can play around with it. It does afford a lot of flexibility. Well,
Amen.
these are all
Amen. Amen.
coming
Amen.
and futuristic technologies which will coming in. That's what I'm saying. So with that, I can ask you my next question, which comes into my mind, and I have also felt a lot of that pain. Uh, Oftentimes, the senior most management, let's say the board per se, would mainly consist of business veterans, and they know very well how to sell insurance. Now, how would you, but they may not be, like you yourself just mentioned in passing, that they may not be absolute veterans or, domain experts of technology. Obviously, they are not expected to be. So how you
They are not
could,
even experienced buyers.
yeah,
They are not.
correct,
Most of
correct.
them are not even experienced buyers.
Yes, yes, yes.
First or a second time buyer of technology.
And a point very taken, accepted and appreciated also. There's nothing wrong. No one person can know in details various domains. It's not possible. But what I'm asking you is, you with your very strong advocation of technology as an imperative if you want to stay in competition, how do you think you could convince a neither saying board about a huge investment in technology, not a small investment, a big investment, say a transformational project in your company? How do you think you can convince them?
See, um, the main uh, conviction comes at two levels. The first is the numbers, the number crunching. When do
Okay.
you expect, if you can explain a business leader that this is the period in which you can clearly turn the capital around and start giving operational margins,
Yes.
it can be a large investment, and if you can show that how to finance this investment, they
Hmm.
see light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Right. You don't lead them to anything dark. You have to show them the where the light is, where the tunnel
Yes.
ends.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. The
Okay.
second point that comes is the passion. You can only
Hmm.
convince when you are yourself is convinced.
Yes.
I cannot
Yes.
put up a half-baked scheme to the board and say that, gentlemen, company da da and da has adopted this technology,
Hmm.
and it seems that it will be the in thing in the market. So let's do it,
Hmm.
and let's spend about uh, 20% of our operational margin into technology.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, no board is going to look or hear that.
Hmm.
If I, as a as a CEO, my job is to disrupt. As a CEO, my job is to disrupt. They say that if the CEO is present in office, it is detrimental to the daily running of the company.
That's another
Because
quote right there.
because CEO's job is to disrupt.
Yes.
My job whenever I led a team was to see what was beyond. My
Yes.
job is to show my team and my board what is beyond and make them convinced with a passion that I have convinced myself. So as I would take a two-pronged strategy. One is that I would first convince myself to the last T that
Yes.
technology is the
Yes.
thing that has to be on board. And second, I should have a very clear numbers, which shows the board members the light at the end of the tunnel. They know the exact length of the tunnel. I leave nothing for their imagination.
Yes.
Right?
A thought comes to my mind that you see, the technology is adopted not just and not always in respect of the business processes of the organization. It's not about the research and development part, not about marketing, not about underwriting, not about claims processing. These are there, but sometimes I suspect that technology perhaps would be required to be brought in for, let's say regulatory purposes, or maybe some of the ancillary and satellite activities as well, like accounts or HR or other aspects of insurance. Even let us say that is also part of business. I suspect, say, the actuarial valuation of premium. But there would be some imperatives, if I may say, from my side, let's say, about regulatory compliance, which is becoming more and more elaborate and complicated by the day, where I wonder whether you can link it to returns, or whether you would still argue in favor of it willy-nilly.
See, when you require certain technology, I'll give you a typical example from the broking part of the industry that I'm working for now. Uh, the concept of point of sale,
Yes.
or brokers having specified persons who can sell certain branches of insurance up to a certain level, has nothing to do with technology, right? So,
Yeah.
as a business leader in a broking firm, I
Yes.
am convinced that I need point of sale. But today, to sort of employ a point of sale, I need a certain software. I need to implement a certain system,
Yes. Yes.
right? Now, if I, as a business leader, is not convinced that that system is required, I will always oppose that. Now, why? I can have someone sell those insurance. I can keep my records in an Excel sheet. I can print out a copy of the Excel sheet and give it to.
Yeah.
Now these are very childish arguments, because
Yes. Right.
because the moment you have a system, you can offer it to the regulator to come and check
And audit.
and audit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. um I don't know whether you would agree with me or not, that today, in the concept of digital documents, the concept of an original certificate is no longer there.
Yes. It's
Previously, you guarded your matric certificate like a part of your body.
yes.
Today, your Aadhaar card or your double vaccination certificate, if somebody can scan the QR code, he can go and
It is there.
generate that certificate,
Correct. Correct. Yes.
right? So it is the question of that mind shift. If I still say that why I will give you a piece of paper which you will keep framed in your
Mm.
office,
Mm.
it's ridiculous. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sort of impairs the efficiency of the system
Mm.
going forward.
So you say that
So
uh, for money, there are certain uh, investments, substantial investments in technology, which you would agree to, even though it may not really be directly related to your business improvement.
see, Avinanda, there is nothing in business which is not connected to business. It is for you to understand and explain it to
Hmm.
the people who has the purse strings.
Hmm.
I-
That's the board.
if the if POS
Hmm.
system is required by IRDA
Hmm.
to have POS,
Hmm.
my choice is adoption of the system or not to have POS.
Hmm.
These are my choices. I cannot have a third choice saying that I will have a POS in my own way. No, no go.
No go. Okay. So, if we are also coming to the end of our time,
Yeah.
and I think our conversation has been very well rounded up. And
Uh-huh.
as we come into the home run, uh, let me, in conclusion, let me throw a very intriguing thought to you, and let me see what your reaction would be. As you said that we have talked a lot about the future of the insurance industry. That was in the first part. Then we talked about where we are going, what are the opportunity areas, etc., and the opportunities and the challenges of the future, and the heavy dependence on technology to retain our competitiveness, etc., and technology having come in with its own challenges which need to be overcome, which we have talked about today. Now, with all this huge buzz and this over dependence on technology, as you seem to advocate, or advocate may envision almost, so my thought is, what does ultimately the future ready insurance company look like? Is it an insurance company steeped into technology, driven by technology, or has it, or is it almost becoming a technology company which incidentally does insurance? Which would it be, in your opinion?
See, mm, this almost sounds like that Tata Steel advertisement, which says that we also make steel. We also sell insurance.
That was a classic one. Yes, we all remember it.
We all remember it. But jokes aside, and in it can, it will, and it will always be an insurance company to the core of its heart, which
Yes.
embraces technology,
Mm.
because the you will definitely see technology companies trying to horizontally integrate into an insurance company.
Mm.
That I have the technology, what happens? I mean, people will come and insure with me. My 34 years of experience tells me
Mm.
that to become an insurance company, you first have to be an insurance company.
Mm.
Or to become an insurance broker, you first have to be an insurance broker. To
Mm.
become an insurance distributor, you have to understand the subject.
Mm. Mm.
You are, but your technology, your affinity for technology would be so great, so huge, that people looking from outside might also think that you also sell insurance.
Yes.
But when you go into the company, the core of the company, the basic ethos of the company, you'll find that it will have to be insurers. Only people, experts, and insurance theoreticians would be required in much less of a number. The knowledge may be concentrated in one or two pockets of the company, but that knowledge will have to be the core, will be the core, and the insurance, the technology would be the part which the public sees.
Oh,
So,
that
so
was
given the two choices, I still think that it will be an insurance company to the core of its heart, adopting technology so well that from outside it might look like a technology company. But
so
at the core, it has to be an insurance company.
so it's almost a marriage made in heaven. And on this positive note, we can conclude this very delightful chat. And may I really thank you, Joydeep, for spending some very good time, very delightful time, and sharing your thoughts and visions with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Your questions and your posers have been tickling my thoughts, and that's what made me speak what I spoke. So
Yes.
you have contributions and part responsibility of my opinions also.
Okay. Thank you
Okay,
very much again,
right.
Joydeep.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.